Hi, and welcome to the 30 Days to Sell Cars podcast. In this episode, we are going to talk about how to use videos to frame the mindset of prospects to focus on the vehicle they are driving now, or the automotive need they are trying to fulfill instead of the vehicle you want to sell, and how to double your leads and lower your ad cost by 50%. You're not going to want to miss this show. Hi, my name is Sean Casey, and I'm happy that you're joining us today for a brand new episode of our podcast, 30 Days to Sell Cars. I'm really glad episode number 1 is finally out of the way. I feel this huge pressure off my shoulders. Now I don't have to talk about myself again. We can focus on the good stuff and zoom in on the strategies that will help you sell more cars and move more metal today. If this is your first time joining us and you're a little curious to know who's this guy with the funny French accent and why you should listen to him, well, make sure to check out our first episode. You'll learn a few things about me and why I think I can be a great ally in your corner and help you sell more cars. But most importantly, you'll learn a core principle that we're going to talk over and over again on this podcast, which is why you should focus on people who are not in the market to buy a vehicle if you want to grow your sales from Conquest customers. This week, I want to give you one of the most important elements to Conquest success. Drum roll, please. Framing. If this is your first time hearing about frames, pre-frames, or framing, let me give you a little bit of background information to set the stage. The idea of framing comes from a field of study called NLP, short for Neuro-Linguistic Programming, and framing is one of its most useful techniques. At its core, the concept of framing is based on the idea that the meaning or perception you have of any event, thing, or person depends on how you frame it. If you change the frame, you change the meaning or the perception you have of the event, thing, or person, and with it, the way you respond. To illustrate with an obvious example, let's imagine you were introduced to a guest at a party by a common friend. The guest is a salesperson at a dealership. Your friend precedes the introduction by telling you how much of an awful salesperson the guest you're about to meet is. And to be careful, because he always kind of exaggerates when he speaks. Your friend has just framed your mind negatively towards the individual. Not only will the person have an uphill battle to gain your favor as a salesperson, but your behavior towards them at the party might also be affected. In the same example, if the person introducing you had spent a few minutes telling you how much of an incredible salesman the guest you're about to meet is, and that they did a professional job helping their mom find the perfect vehicle, you would have been framed positively, and your behavior would be totally different with the person. Framing is everywhere. You find it in humor when a stand-up comedian carefully frames your mind in a certain direction until they create a shift and send the punchline in the opposite direction. You find it in movies like in The Sixth Sense with Bruce Willis, or more recently in Collateral Beauty with Will Smith, when the frame is so well constructed that you can't see the obvious until the last minute of the movie. To go a little bit deeper on the subject, you can frame both the content and you can frame the context. Someone in a zombie costume, for example, is going to have a very different impact at a Halloween party than at a funeral. Or somebody slipping on ice is different when you're the observer versus the victim. You probably use framing yourself all the time on your spouse or your kids when you want them to think positively about a request or a suggestion you want to make. I'll tell my wife how pretty she is and how much I appreciate all the hard work she does around the house before telling her I want to spend a little bit more money on tools I want for the studio. Or I'll dangle in front of my kids the idea of getting something they really want before asking them for a request I know I'm going to get a little bit of pushback from. Yeah, you probably use it yourself all the time at the dealership. If you're about to talk about a particular truck, for example, and you say that this truck has just won countless awards, you have just framed positively the mind of the prospect towards the vehicle you're about to show. Or if you want to present a particular vehicle to a young family and you mention that this vehicle has just won a 5-star safety award, you have just again framed the mind of the prospect favorably towards the vehicle. I'm sure you get the idea by now. Framing is something that we intuitively experience and use all the time in our daily lives, but surprisingly, it's also something that most car dealers fail to include when they market to Conquest customers. Why? I see it all the time. Dealers will target off-make vehicle shoppers using the latest targeting tactics and immediately hit them with price, payments, and incentives on their model without providing a bridge for the prospect to transition from the make they were originally interested in to the make the dealer sells. If somebody's been shopping for a Ford truck, for example, I don't think that, a particular rebate or an incentive is going to make them shift to the model that you sell. And it goes for all makes. This is just an example. I see dealers spend thousands of dollars on direct mail campaigns or print ads and fail to weave in a copy of the flyer or add even a few sentences or images to pre-frame the prospect's mind. Why is a concept so obvious in our daily lives so foreign when we think of marketing vehicles? I'll tell you the results of my testing over the years. I've never seen any campaign that didn't include framing work with Conquest vehicle shoppers or non-intenders. That's it. Not one. Now, you might get lucky during the hot buying season to create marketing without framing and reach enough people at the tail end of their shopping cycle and already interested by the model of the brand you sell to make it work. But there's no science behind these sporadic successes. Luck is not the repeatable and sustainable strategy I'm looking for to produce winning campaigns month after month for my dealers. Now, bottom line, if you don't integrate framing in your automotive marketing, you'll never get any substantial increase in your sales from Conquest customers. That's it. And if you listen to the last episode of our podcast and you're preparing to market to non-intenders, you better become a master at pre-frames or you'll be wasting your dealership's money. Now, you might be wondering how framing would work in the context of an actual automotive advertising endeavor. Here's where I start. It's a technique I learned from Russell Brunson, and you can read about that technique in length in his book, .com Secrets. It's in section 3 of the book under secret number 10. First, you're going to need to figure out your traffic's temperature. This is what's going to dictate the pre-frame bridge you'll need to build before talking about what you want to sell. If your traffic is cold, warm, or hot. Hot traffic being customers who already know you, trust you, love you, and cold traffic being people who are not even aware of your existence. Cold prospects are completely unaware. They're unaware of your existence, unaware of the problem they might have, the solution that you provide, or the specific product or service you have to solve their problem. As the prospects get warmer, they become problem aware, then become solution aware, then product aware, then finally learn about specific dealers who can sell them the product or service they want. If the prospects you're targeting are not aware they need a vehicle, for example, a great pre-frame bridge would point them to potential hidden needs they might have for more cargo space, more fuel efficiency, or for example, more safety in the case of expecting parents. If they don't know they need a vehicle, there's no amount of 0% over 84 months or up to $10,000 in rebates that's going to make them move. If the prospects you're targeting are aware of the problem, a great pre-frame bridge could be to talk about solutions before pitching the product. A credit challenge customer or somebody who thinks they might be upside down on their trade will be delighted to learn about your ability to get them approved or pay more for their trade. Once pre-framed on your abilities to provide the solution, they're much more likely to be receptive to your incentives and convert into a deal for your dealership. If they're warm for another dealer and ready to buy a truck from a competitor selling a competing make, a great pre-frame bridge could be a side-by-side video comparison of your truck with the truck they're considering, featuring the strengths of your model. Once that first step is secured, you could present them with the incentives, not the other way around. You get the picture? Once you figured out your traffic's temperature and where they are on the heat spectrum, you can design the perfect pre-frame bridge to allow them to transition from where they are to a place where they are receptive to your promotional and product messages. Doing it the other way is like having the cart before the horses, which is what most dealers do today. Now, if you want to learn more about framing and pre-framing, good place to start, just go to YouTube, search for NLP. You'll have tons of videos on the subject, some good, some better. A great place is the book from Robert Cialdini called Persuasion. Dr. Cialdini wrote the book Influence a few years back. I consider Influence probably one of the top 10 books any person in business should read. So that's also a great place for you to learn more about the subject. Is framing starting to sound like an obvious strategy to you now? But now don't worry if you weren't doing it before listening to this podcast. That's what I'm here for. Just focus on the incredible opportunity for your dealership to create marketing with Pre-Frame Bridge, warming up your prospects, selling tons of vehicle to Conquest vehicle shoppers, while all your other competitors in town are still trying to push incentive and products down the throat of prospects who don't care. Think about that for a few seconds. Now, if you'd like to see a few examples of how we use videos to pre-frame the mind of new prospects and non-intenders, make sure to watch a few examples of the campaigns I created over the years. These campaigns will also provide you with tons of ideas, and it's guaranteed to get your own creative juices flowing. I'll make sure to leave the URL in the show's notes for your convenience. I'm also working on a new video for our Secret Car Marketing Tactics community, where I'll show you one of my favorite tools to position your pre-framed videos and your marketing in front of the right people at the right time so they get excited about hearing about your offers. I'll make sure to also add the link to the video in this show's notes and on 30daystosellcars.com. Well, it was a pleasure to have you over. I hope you liked this episode and that you'll be back for more. Make sure to subscribe to the podcast on iTunes and Google Play so you don't miss the next strategy I want to share with you. Make sure to also leave me a few comments. I'm making this show for you, and without your input, I can't improve it. In the next episode, I want to talk about your current website and why it might be your biggest enemy when it comes to increasing your new car sales numbers, and how you can use sales funnels instead to leverage the power of robots to help you find more prospects excited to buy your vehicles. I promise you're not going to want to miss that show. I hope I catch you on the next podcast. Until then, I wish you a great week. Remember that we only have 30 days to sell cars when the month starts, and we probably have less than that right now if you look at your calendar. So like I love to say, let's sell some cars.